is going to be cool.
The topics and opinions expressed on the Dudes and Beer podcast are intended for an audience of 18 and up and are solely those of the host and guest. They neither reflect the opinions or values of either the sponsors of Dudes and Beer or your mother. I mean, seriously, have you ever heard these guys? They'll talk about anything.
Whoa, hey, you think they're going to show it? They'll probably just blur it out. Whoa, check it out, Beavis.
Grab your beverages and turn up your interweb. Solving the world's problems 12 ounces at a time. It's Dudes and Beer. Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Dudes and Beer podcast. I am Chris Jordan, your host. With me on the phone today is investigative reporter Jon Bowne. We are going to break into a lot of what's going on right now. There have been huge reports all over the place. Facebook has been getting in trouble and been figuring out how to rein in the absolute flood of fake news that has been going on their website, as well as the fake news that's going all over the internet right now. In this episode, we're going to touch a little bit on First Amendment issues, the deletion of propaganda law in 2013 by the U.S. federal government, what that means for government-made news, what that means for things that we really have no control over, and how that pushes the paradigm of thought in our country. And we will get back to that right after this message from our sponsor.
Hey, he don't even have a license, Lisa.
Crazy drunk driver.
Hey everybody, Chris Jordan, host of the Dudes and Beer podcast here. Has this ever happened to you? Tired of looking in your rearview mirror after a couple of drinks with friends or worrying about no-refusal weekends and DUI stops? Are you planning a night on the town and want an easy, safe way to get around while still having fun? Well, Fare is the ride service for you. Simply download the easy-to-use and free Fare app from the Google Play Store or iTunes Marketplace and use promo code DUDES10 every time you ride with Fare to save 10% off your ride. Have a Fare driver you liked riding with? You can not only give them a review and tip, but you can add them to your preferred drivers list on your Fare app and request them every time you ride with Fare. You can schedule rides with Fare to pick you up immediately or as far as 30 minutes to 7 days in advance, eliminating the need for last-minute calls and allowing you to pre-schedule pickups in locations other than your home city. Perfect for those traveling for business or for fun. So don't forget to stop on by and download that free Fare app and use the coupon code DUDES10 every time you ride with Fare to get 10% off your ride. That's right, don't forget the coupon code is DUDES10. So be like Dudes and Beer, everybody. Party safe, use Fare, and drink responsibly. And we are back. How are you doing, Johnny Bowne? I am sitting here drinking a session lager. What are you enjoying this evening, my man?
I'm having a good old Lone Star beer.
Oh, yeah, man. National Beer of Texas. Gotta love it.
I'm a beer nationalist.
Well, and we'll get into some of that nationalism here in a little while.
I'm self-proclaimed beer nationalist.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being exclusive in your beer drinking.
Tommy told me otherwise.
Well, and we'll get into that because you had some interesting run-ins this weekend. You had some very interesting situations happen to you. I really want to start off kind of in the Wayback Machine here because something that, you know, has been happening since the beginning of the election, of course, and even before then is I'm not going to necessarily say full-on attacks by the media or full-on attacks on the media, but in 2013, it's definitely been documented by the ACLU that the United States saw fit to drop propaganda laws. Now, that may not mean a lot to a lot of people. Break that down a little bit for us, John. Number one, where the laws came from and what they are all about.
Okay, you're talking about the Smith-Mundt Act.
That is correct.
died on the vine in 2013. The Smith-Munn Act was originally created in 1948. It's officially known as the U.S. Information and Educational Exchange Act. But it's, hopefully everyone knows it or knew it as the Smith-Munn Act.
Yeah.
And in 2013, the NDAA...
which is what? What is the NDAA?
The National Defense Authorization Act.
Thank you.
Which, provides the funding for national defense. So they load it up with all kinds of other little things that are going to change. It's a giant blanket of funding, and then they put some little goodies in there for the Big Brother surveillance state.
Yeah.
Which is actually, if I can go a little bit off topic, is the first time that I realized Obama was out to get us, because he made it possible for American citizens to be taken into custody without their rights.
That's right. That's when the Fourth Amendment was dropped, when borders were set up within 100 miles of any border land or sea in the U.S., which basically allows...
You can legally swoop them up and they can disappear.
Yeah. It basically allows them to indefinitely hold people without just cause.
He has that power.
Yeah.
It would be a huge... people started disappearing.
Well,
here...
the
video posts and so on.
Here's...
people would probably get pretty upset, but he has the power to do it.
He does. And here's the thing, though, and here's my thing. It wasn't just one president. We do such a horrible job in this country of pushing the pendulum. Literally, as it comes to one side, giving it just like a good swing at the playground, giving it a good hard push to go the other way to see how long it stays up in that part of the air before it comes back to us. And I really feel as though we right now, one of the things you put forth in your report this morning was that 77% of people believe America to be divided. I would actually like to see those numbers pre-election.
Right. Yeah.
I would like to actually see that same poll, because numerous people, yourself included, myself included,
I wonder if the majority of that number, and I'm sorry to interrupt you,
it's okay, buddy.
I'm thinking about this. If the majority of that number are just people that are fed up, because that's what I keep running into when I go out there, is I just run into average Americans who are friendly and nice, and they're just shrugging their shoulders, like, why isn't all this happening?
Yeah, they're just disillusioned in the system. I mean, here we are. Not too long ago, I mentioned to somebody that this is literally the second election within our lifetime. And that's important to note, within our lifetime, because there have only been 3 presidential elections decided by the Electoral College. Normally, that system susses itself out very well, and the Electoral College normally votes the same swing that the popular vote goes. But this is the second election within our lifetime where we have a president that has been selected and not elected.
Well, the problem, too, also with the whole Electoral College thing, where they're threatening, you've got Electoral College officials, Electoral College electors, being threatened with violence by the Democratic Party and, this radical left, or whatever we call, what do you call them?
Emotional hemophiliacs.
Emotional hemophiliacs. That's more to the point.
I find it to be an apt conclusion.
Well, the problem with that argument is that Hillary won by what? I'm guessing here, but I think it was like 675,000 votes.
We've well cleared 1.5 million now.
What's that?
We've well cleared 1.5 million now.
Oh, okay. Hillary's cleared 1.5 million.
By the stats I've seen online, and maybe your reporting brings out something different, but everything that I've seen in most updated news reports is saying that it's close to 1.5 million votes now that she has in the popular vote over him.
Okay, so the number when I last checked of illegal aliens voting was 3 million. So when we get all the numbers counted, does that mean that 1.5 million illegals still voted for Trump?
Yeah. Well, and I guess my big issue.
She lost the popular vote.
Well, and let's.
In law, if those are illegal votes, then she lost the popular vote too. So the argument doesn't even exist.
Yeah, and I mean those. I haven't had a chance to see all those numbers. I haven't had a chance to vet all those articles. I know you've had a much better chance than I have. So I definitely trust things that Jon Bowne says. I've worked with Jon Bowne for years, and never found anything that he said to not be factually supported. But my issue,
I try. There's a lot of people out there that say I'm fake news.
My issue that comes in, number one, yes.
Every day, I just get up and make up the news.
Yeah. Oh no, they're and a guy that I do podcasts for literally contacted me today with an article about this group of guys that are like just out of college that started this huge fake news site that's getting all kinds of traffic, and he wanted to know how to like get in the news feeds. And I was like, number one, you got to post regularly. You got to be on there all the time. You got to have thousands of followers. There's something to.
Isn't that issue number one though?
What's that?
He wanted to know how to get into the news feeds.
Yeah.
If you're making fake news, should you be in the news feeds? The Democrats don't think so.
Technically, no.
Well, I mean, First Amendment right.
Well,
technically,
the question comes to bear, number one, and this is why I wanted you on here, because like you come from a family of reporters. Your father won an Edward R. Murrow Award. This is in your blood, and to me, and a Peabody, and the to me, what really gets me, and what gets. Yeah, what gets me is the just the whole concept of the First Amendment. Number one, I think a lot of people misunderstand the First Amendment. It protects your right to press. It protects your right to protest. What it does not do is preclude you from responsibility of what you've said or your protest. Yes, you have a right to protest. Absolutely, you have a right to protest. This is America. You have a right to protest the right to protest if you want to.
But
go ahead.
You don't have a right to make violent threats online on your Facebook page like the Red Guards Austin did.
Yeah.
Where they posted, "We will turn White Lives Matter into dust." That could be anything.
It could be anything. Now
they could be driving an atomic bomb downtown to set it off for all we know, and then they go down there. They're idiots, man.
Well, yeah.
And they're open carrying. The thing is, there's no problem with your Second Amendment. There's no problem with you open carrying.
Yeah.
But if you are making threats online, that you are going to attack somebody. Especially Donald Trump, like these idiots.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, people are making open threats against the president on Twitter.
If you go online and say you're going to assassinate Donald Trump, and then you strap a gun to your back and you immediately go to wherever Donald Trump is, there's a problem there.
Well, and it leads to things people don't understand. One of my friends posted on Facebook today, and I love her so much. One of my friends posted on Facebook today, for every action, there's a reaction. And I was like, wait a minute. Though that be true, you are forgetting a very huge part of that universal law of Newtonian physics. And that's the fact that there's not just a reaction, but it is an equal and opposite reaction. So whenever you take that, and that's really the most important part of that universal law, like this is the way physics works and the way the universe works. Whenever you put something out there, there will be an equal and opposite reaction. So the reaction that comes to you will be equally in support, but there will also be an opposite reaction to that. you know, and unfortunately is the person who put that into motion. And this is where the courts lie on it. The person who put that into motion is absolutely liable for that opposite reaction. So by that logic, just by the logic of the courts of the United States with that, to me, is it your right to protest? Yes. Is it your right to violently protest? No. No, it's not. It's not your right to exert physical violence on somebody. It's not your right to incite a riot. It's not within your rights to impede other people's rights.
Is it within your rights to threaten violence on another human being?
No, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, in the modern education system, if you were to do something like that, you would be told that you were making a terroristic threat and you would be removed from the school. And it's interesting to me that one of the stories out in the news today was actually talking about a high school where they put on a skit that was the assassination of Donald Trump.
Yeah, I covered that this morning.
Yeah, I saw that. And, you know, it's one of those questions to me that, like, like this skit wasn't vetted by a teacher. Like it didn't hit a teacher's eyes beforehand. And any good politics teacher, any good, you know, civics teacher will tell you any threat against the president is a viable threat. Any threat against the president or the monetary system technically is an actionable threat by the Secret Service. So like, even if you were like, you know, I'm going to go take down the U.S. Treasury and I'm going to print 8,000, you know, fake $1,000 bills and put them into circulation, whether or not you did it, you made the threat to do it. And you can be held liable for not only what you said, but any actions that happen because of it. And I've made the argument on here before that within that realm, to me, actually falls political campaigns. Because by the definition of terrorism in Webster's dictionary, it is using actions or rhetoric to scare people to get across your political point of view. So any political ad that uses people's fears or feeds off people's fears, by definition, is terrorism and should not be allowed.
And it's propaganda, and it's waged. And so we come all the way back around for the listeners. Cause,
yeah. Let's bring it back to propaganda.
Smith-Munn Act. Let me just finish. During World War II, there was propaganda that we were using. The Voice of America was using against all these countries that we were fighting. And they drop leaflets, they get on the radio, they try to get in their TVs, and they try to tell you, America good, we come to help, and then people are like, okay, America's good, and they're propagandized. And it worked, to a certain level. It helped win, World War II to a certain degree.
Oh, yeah.
And it was very successful, but it was also a part of Woodrow Wilson's Public Information Committee for Public Information, which it in itself was kind of the beginning of the progressives getting into propagandizing our media. And then that got married into with FDR's Office of War Information with the Nazi propaganda that came over here with the Nazis that, we actually, in Operation Paperclip, allowed and paid for, took care of a whole group of genius Nazis who created our space program. So what the rest of Congress did was they looked at that and they said, okay, the State Department has way too much power. We've got it. Smith and Mundt came up with this act and said, we've got to put a hold on that here in America. We can't allow our interior propaganda machine to propagandize America. Good luck. I mean, talk about a tidal wave. I mean, they're just chomping at the bit, especially the CIA to push, especially CIA to push propaganda on the United States citizens. And there it sat, for years and years until 2013. All of a sudden, quietly in the NDAA, goodbye.
Yeah, it It was gotten rid of.
It's now legal, and now that's why we have people on TV telling us that the rest of news that doesn't agree with the propaganda machine is fake, and we should be arrested, or our sites should be taken down, and and granted, okay,
yes,
the alternative media, and I'm not going to call it the alt-right because it's some kind of clan, like now they're trying to put KKK on media or something.
Yeah.
We didn't even have genre name it's just people trying to recreate through their DNA what the publications were doing at the founding of this country.
Absolutely.
When we were actually with the first printers, with the printing machines, trying to get the word out from this city to this city. This is what's going on. Here comes King George. Here's the tyranny that's coming. And, King George gets a hold of that paper and goes, no, the tyranny isn't coming. And these papers, and let's burn the printers, let's burn their printing shops down. Now, occasionally, some goofball with a printing machine is going to not check his facts, and there's going to be a few things that are wrong, okay? That's media.
Yeah.
And there's always retractions, and there's always going to be, some kind of editor in place, whether it be the reporter or the news director or the general manager or a chief editor themselves, that is checking the facts and making sure that everything's correct. But for the most part, a lot of things in what is called alternative media are only sitting on top of a lot of things that have already been checked, that are already known to be true.
Yeah.
So the problem with alternative media is that when you hear a story, it's an opening to a wormhole, an opening to a rabbit hole that most people don't want to go into, because you're going to go through layers and you're going to get to a point similar to what I just said about, the Operation Paperclip. So the story that's connected to Operation Paperclip, you go down in those layers and you get to Operation Paperclip, and there's a percentage of people that are going to go, nope, don't believe it. Nope, didn't happen. And unfortunately, it did happen. And there's plenty of proof that it did happen. And Operation Paperclip really is the evil seed, the thing that grows out of the Federal Reserve, the Rothschilds' Federal Reserve, and it grows out of this, and it eventually ends up being a part of what took down JFK. But then again, there I go.
Yeah.
So a lot of people would stop me right there and go, what are you talking about? How's it? But the problem is that when you're part of alternative media, you've already got to know all of these other equations, because they've already come out as true from the equal sign. And a lot of people are looking at those equations and going, I don't think that equation's correct. But we don't have time to do that. We've got to move on to what this headline is about here today. And it's tied to a rabbit hole. And the problem is we're coming from this perspective that is tied to this rabbit hole. And whether you're Breitbart or InfoWars or WorldNet Daily or even The Hill or Washington Times, there's publications out there that are trying to be honest. There's a lot of pre-knowledge that you're supposed to already have, and a lot of people just can't. They don't have it, and they can't deal with it. So that's why you got people on TV, these heads of the Democratic Party. You've got Obama, who said that he wouldn't do anything, a peaceful transition of power for Donald Trump. Now turning his back on Donald Trump and saying he's going to completely control the media. He's got a website that he's a part of, Obama does. And those folks are saying that they are going to do everything they can to fight Donald Trump on Inauguration Day. There's going to be a huge protest on Inauguration Day.
Yeah.
And today, Donald Trump, the latest news, which is a beautiful thing, Donald Trump, and listen, the election is over. I had my reservations about Donald Trump.
Yep.
Same here. Down the road, President Obama. When I was born, Richard Nixon was the president. Okay. Yep. The only person I've ever felt completely at peace with voting for was Ron Paul.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that I like about Donald Trump, and then there's a lot of things I don't know about Donald Trump. But I'm gradually getting to know them. I think that's how America feels. We're all gradually getting to know him. So give him a chance. And it looks like he's trying to do the right thing, and now he's your president. So you're supposed to honor him,
Well, yeah.
If he's trying to do the right thing, right?
Yeah. Well,
it's your duty as an American citizen. I mean,
it is our duty as an American citizen. And, there were a lot of people whenever Obama was elected. I'm not going to say I was the biggest fan of Obama, but I'm also not going to say I was the biggest opponent of Obama. I support every president that comes into office. I give everybody their fair shake. I give everybody their fair understanding. And, hey, you got 2 years to prove yourself to me.
Exactly.
And to say that anything can be proven.
Just give him 100 days.
You can't give him 100 days, though, because, sincerely, there are only 10 jobs that the president has, and not a single one of them is actually writing a law. So you can't really give him 100 days to fix some stuff. He could fix some interior stuff. Like, quite honestly, I think one of the biggest moves that President-elect Trump could make would actually be to go into the White House immediately and say equal pay for all.
Interesting.
Equal pay for all. Doesn't matter how long you've been here. Doesn't matter. We're going to an equal...
as the staff of the White House?
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to...
He might do something like that.
Because...
one thing it's already having an effect on is the economy. We're hitting record highs on the stock market.
Yeah.
And I know Obama would like to take the credit for that, but how exactly do you take the credit, Obama, for that? If you're going out, you're a lame duck president, and you're almost out, and now the economy is booming. There is no credit. You can't take the credit. You doubled our national debt. It's $20 trillion.
Yeah.
We'll be lucky.
Yeah.
We'll be lucky as a capitalist society,
Well,
damn the torpedoes on the communists. But as a capitalist society, to claw our way out of $20 trillion in debt to the Chinese and Saudi Arabia. But Donald Trump tonight was saying that he had these bigwigs from the media come in, and he went off on them.
Yeah,
they said it was like an effing firing squad. He just pulled them all in there and said, "You're all liars. I don't want any part of you." I mean, to me, man, I can agree. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. I would love to do that.
Yeah. Oh, I would love to see him actually cancel the White House press corps dinner. I've said it numerous times on this show. I will keep saying it. To me, anybody that gets a ticket to the White House press corps dinner and attends it, you are bought and sold for a steak, man.
Wait a minute, though.
What?
You might be invited. I might be invited.
I could be invited. You know what?
You know what I'm saying?
I would never accept.
What's so angry in the media?
Like,
they're not going to get that steak dinner now.
Like I said, invited and accepted. If you've accepted that invitation, you are bought. You're bought and paid for. You accepted a $2,500 per person steak dinner for your integrity as a journalist. You know, in my mind, I take the
That's just the icing up. I mean, that's just a little.
Oh yeah, no, that's absolutely a sprinkle. But for me, journalism is the fact of you look at all sides.
Our taxpayers are paying for these people.
Oh yeah, no, and that's just it. That's the issue that we have to put forth here is, you know, because we did just recently lose one of the best PBS reporters out there, and
yes, that was sad, man.
Yeah, it's horribly sad. She was now, you know, she had her own political bent, but I definitely respected her. Absolutely,
she was a solid journalist.
Well, and the thing is,
she really got a lot of experience.
To me, it's the fact of we all have our own political bent. We all have our own political bent, John. Absolutely. The question is, are you writing an op-ed piece or are you writing an investigative journalism piece? If you're writing an op-ed, fine. Leave it as an op-ed. You can absolutely put your editorial opinion in there. If you are writing something as a factual journalistic piece, the facts should speak for themselves. And, one of the things I noted at the end of the second debate, Ben Swan, I know we talked about it in our last episode together, John. Ben Swan put out that great think piece on his local Fox channel that he's a part of, where he was talking about the email scandal. And he was like, despite any leaks that went on, despite any source of any leaks, the question that needs to be asked journalistically is what is in the leaks? Is it factual? Doesn't matter the source. Doesn't matter the source. It could be Bill Clinton's former gay lover that put the source out. Which I'm not saying Bill Clinton has a former gay lover.
Or some guy that was pretending to be. Absolutely. You got to check the source.
You got to, well, not necessarily the source. You got to check the data. You got to check the data, Like, good God, we had Bradley Manning. We have Bradley Manning who's still sitting in prison right now, longest ever, for the Whistleblower Act. The man took some stuff and exposed it because it had to do with the freedom of people, and because of that, he's sitting in prison. Same thing with the good man Edward Snowden, who revealed the NSA plan in Nevada and stuff like that, and PRISM. Why is it that he is still languishing outside of the borders of his home country? He should utterly be protected by the Whistleblower Act and by the First Amendment.
And we have congressmen calling for his assassination.
Yeah.
And he comes back calling for him to get the death penalty.
Yeah.
That in itself.
Yeah.
And it's mind-boggling. It's like this crazy, rabid dog mentality where your brain no longer works. There's no more common sense or logic.
Absolutely.
Snowden put his life on the line to expose treason.
Yes.
Treason, trillions of dollars of treason that we're all paying for that completely violate our Fourth Amendment.
Well,
completely.
And that's just it to me. It comes down to the fact of the oath of office is taken by every one of these guys, from House to president, and representatives, congressmen, everybody. Even sheriffs, to protect and uphold the laws of the Constitution of the United States. And whenever you are actively circumventing those in order to get other things done, I find that pretty despicable on all parts. Whenever you are actively, it's neither here nor there, but it was an interesting topic of conversation during the debate toward the end to find out that I think it was like greater than 70% of news anchors had given to Hillary Clinton's campaign. Why is anybody that is a news anchor and a news reporter giving to any political campaign? That to me,
Stephanopoulos.
Yeah, I mean,
did you hear? Now, all right. Talk about fake news. Here we go.
Yeah.
But there is supposedly there's a guy named Bill Still who has been doing documentaries about the New World Order and especially the Federal Reserve since long before I was awake. And this guy is one of the ancient ones of knowledge of how America's been screwed.
Yeah.
And he's done some great documentaries. Now, I get his YouTube feed, and he had basically sourced from a Viacom executive that was there in the background of Hillary Clinton during the Matt Lauer interview. The first debate, remember?
Yeah.
Okay, they're surrounded by vets, and
Yep.
Hillary's, she's got. It was really hard to watch because she was so stern and just cold and mean. But then Lauer went off script and he asked her about the email scandal.
Yeah.
And asked her some actual tough questions about it. And so she tries to play it off, but you can just tell she is boiling.
Oh, yeah.
Her brain. And so it turns out that after that interview, or after that first debate, if you want to call it that, two people aren't in the same room, you can't call it a debate. But
Not
anyway,
necessarily.
Yeah, not necessarily. So she goes backstage, and according to this source, Bill Still was using, an executive from Viacom, she threw a glass of water at one of her assistants' face. And then she turned into Brazil, the lady that got all the questions.
Yeah.
In WikiLeaks, that she got the questions for the rest of the debates.
Sure.
Told her, and the quote, and I can't quote it verbatim, but the verbiage that she's using sounds racist. Because Brazil, I try to generally not draw attention to anybody's race.
Yeah.
That person, that
It's
lady,
useless.
that guy. Do you really need to know? They're either an a-hole or they're not. There's your. That's you got two kinds of people. You got a-holes and nice people. That's what you got.
Yeah.
Well, Jill, the reason I bring up her race is because the verbiage that Hillary used was to me, and I'm a mutt. I'm a Asian white guy.
Yeah.
Was to me kind of unsettling. She told her that she was sitting around like a lazy buffalo, and that she needed to get off her lazy butt, and start janitorizing the problem she's having with Matt Lauer. That she needs to get on the horn right now and get Matt Lauer fired.
Yeah, clean it up.
And and apparently Brazil just sat there like a statue.
Well, and
which made it even madder. And then she unleashed, she went into this rage, and two doctors had to come in and take her away. And that's just one incident during the campaign.
And there have been, despite the campaign, that's what I'm trying to say, is that aside from the campaign, this has been something that's been going on since the 2000s. Since the early 2000s, when we first put the Patriot Act into place, things like that. That's why I say it goes beyond administration. It goes beyond one single president. And for me, I guess, I'm given to a conspiratorial mind, but I'm also given to a lot of evidence before I go with the conspiratorial aspect. And to me, the concept that we dropped that, and then we tried putting FCC regulators into newsrooms at one point afterward, is horrifying. And then shortly after that was, Megyn Kelly leaving her job. There was. I
may put a footnote on your statement.
Go ahead.
For that, the Washington Post, in the 70s, late 60s and 70s, the CIA was already infiltrating New York Times and the Washington Post. That's all proven. That's all on record. So if you go back to 1970 at the very least, and they're putting CIA operatives like Anderson Cooper in mainstream media, this is 46 years later.
Yeah.
This is 46 years later. If that, it's probably 60 years they've been infiltrating our media. But they have completely taken it over. You look at all of the names on that list that Ron Paul put out of real fake news, and it's all, ABC, CBS, NBC, even Vice News, because their attachment to HBO. Even though Vice, I have to say, man, that is some of the finest looking news I've ever seen in my life.
They put a great product out, man.
right up there with Frontline, which is another one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But, man, that is awesome. You know, and I love Al Jazeera for that too. I love organizations that have the template down of a newsroom, because I grew up in a newsroom. It's its own beast. Well, it's like going into the back of a restaurant. You got a guy prepping the onions. You got a guy working the line. You got a girl who's, you know, making salad, or she's sauteing, or, you know, and you got somebody over here. You don't know what their ethnicity or their sex is, doing, you know, pastry. You know, that's America, man.
It is.
That's America. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in the back of that kitchen who you are, where you're from, or what your sexual orientation is. We're all just doing this job because it's a template and it needs to be done correctly. And the problem is that these operatives walk back into that kitchen and they start poisoning the food. Well,
and you know, that's what we have to be careful for. And in the last few minutes, that's what I kind of want to give as a solution: is how do despite left or right leanings personally, how does a person actually disseminate and filter this fake news when it comes along? I mean, of course, number one, the easiest way is whenever you see web addresses like .co and stuff like that. Like, you're never, ever going to see a real article from abcnews.co.
Right.
You know,
I've been there. Or there's a White House site.
Yeah.
That is a complete fake White House site. I've gone there a couple of times, had a confusion, and been like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You know, Ronald Reagan is dead, man. What are they saying? He's riding a motorcycle on the lawn.
Well, and you know, the real question comes to bear: like I said, how do we filter this? You know, we have to learn once again as a society, because you know, as I heard on the radio today, unfortunately, our children in high school are not being given an education, not the way we were, John, where it was critical thinking and here's 5 different points of view, coalesce them together and come up with something logical.
We didn't necessarily get the best education either. I mean,
no, we didn't.
We're now, you and I, later in life, when did you actually wake up and realize that the Federal Reserve is as federal as Federal Express? I was 36 years old, man.
Yeah.
You know, nobody told me that in school, and then when I found out, nobody believed me, except, you know, the other people that had found out too.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
Now all of a sudden I'm a conspiracy theorist, but, you know, this is actually true. This all went down in Georgia, man. The devil did it down in Georgia.
He did.
And made the Federal Reserve in 1913, man, and we've been using monopoly money ever since.
Yeah.
That's being taxed to the hilt and being sent back to our owners.
Yeah. Took all the gold to make the fiddle.
You know, you have to talk in generalized terms, and that's when you're trying to explain to people. I mean, I could get into Aldridge. We could go through the whole story of who these guys were and who they were connected to. We could go through the entire history of Q. We could go through all the names. We could go through the history, but it would take too much time.
It takes too much time, and it's such a convoluted web.
It's up to somebody that doesn't know, instead of standing there arguing with me that the Federal Reserve isn't what I'm saying it is.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Instead of arguing with me, you go read about it, because guess what? I spent weeks reading about it.
Yeah.
So it's not my job. You're lucky I even, you know, we're walking down a street and I say, hey, there's a house on fire down there. You know, you're either going to go check it out or go the other way. That's up to you.
Yeah.
I'm just warning you. And I'm not saying there's a stucco house, 3-bedroom, with two car garage. There's 3 cars in the front. A family of 4 lives there with a parakeet. You know, all of this information. No, the house is on fire. Don't go that way. Well,
and, you know, I think a lot of it comes into the fact of, we've talked about it on this show before, the fact that the media is now chasing the headline instead of the story. And when you're chasing the headline instead of the story, you're not chasing facts. You're not looking for facts. You're not like really. The concept of the news is to provide balanced fact to the people and let them make up their mind.
Clickbait. Some of the best stories that are out there are incredibly mundane.
Oh yeah.
You know, but you know, somebody like Frontline gets a hold of it, and it's not mundane anymore. I mean, I saw an incredible. Was it Frontline? I believe it was Frontline, but it was about the sand wars. Something nobody ever talks about, but it completely has to do with global warming, the global warming debate, and globalization, and you know, the environment. Basically, the globalists have been stealing, if you want to call it that. They've been legally purchasing sand from parts of the world and moving it to other parts of the world, because in order to build skyscrapers, in order to make cement, you need sand.
Yeah.
So they've been tearing off these coastlines all over the world, and, you know, to the highest bidder goes the gold, you know?
Well, and,
so
you know...
Now we've got failing coastlines, and people are complaining about, look at its global warming, you know, look how far the water has come up here. Well, did you happen to notice that, you know, Saudi Arabia took... you know, 400 tons of sand from here last week.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Well, and
that's going on, and nobody knows about it.
Well, yeah, you know, you definitely do have to keep on top of the political agendas. You got to keep on top of what's going on nationally, internationally. I think before we wrap up here, I really want to address the concept of nationalism, because that to me has been a big key word in this debate. It's been a big key word in this election. It's been a big key word here lately that I think people are scared of. And to me, I've said for years and years and years, the danger of America right now and where we are is literally square between World War I and World War II Germany. We are depleted economically. We are depleted socially. We are absolutely fed up with things that are going on. We no longer, and you know, despite what people may think, we no longer have a cultural identity as America. And yeah, that's a good thing, but yeah, that's a bad thing. Because if you have no cultural identity, if you know, the old phrase goes, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. And to me, it's something that I am a person of conviction. I stand by my convictions. I believe what I believe, despite what anybody tells me, until factually proven otherwise. And once factually proven otherwise, I will absolutely reconsider my educated opinion. But I do my best to educate myself on both sides of the fence on all topips to assure the fact.
You can't have an ego problem in this business.
No, you can't. You can't.
You got to have a total sense of centered humility, because you are going to be wrong, because you're searching for the truth. But when you find it, you go with it.
Well, and I think the term nationalistic, like you were saying before the show started, the report that you did recently regarding the black activist statue that was recently raised here in Austin and the ensuing protests. Yeah, I heard it was absolutely amazing and moving. Right now, due to that and the protests that happened afterward, we got sharpshooters sitting in garages around Austin. Like, did you see that picture that I sent you today?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Tell me again.
Yeah. Check out your email. I sent you a picture that somebody that I know posted on Facebook of actual armed guards in BDUs with sniper rifles in garages in downtown Austin. And it's because of these threats. It's because of these protests. It's because of this stuff that we have to have it. And we shouldn't have it. It shouldn't have to be there. Is that a nationalistic point of view? Is that a concept that, like, you know, I don't know. To me right now, things are so whacked out on both sides of the fence. Like I said, that we are in the state that Germany was we're right where Germany was. Yeah. I mean, we are actively looking for a savior to pull us out. And go ahead, John. Go ahead.
Sorry, I mean nationalism. Just bottom line, we're in a nation.
Yes.
The United States of America.
Yeah.
It's a nation, and we believe in its founding principles. We haven't given up on them.
Yeah.
So therefore, we're nationalists. And it doesn't. And you say that word, and people, it probably just scares the crap out of idiots because they hear it and they go, "Oh, is that supposed to be bad? Is that racist word? Is that?"
Yeah.
It's national. It's just nationalist. I love my country. Oh, is that bad? That's bad too. You know, I wore a U.S. flag shirt to school. They had me take it off. I'm a nationalist. I love my country.
Well, and the term nationalist has become anathema, but the term National Socialism has not. when it talks about the same thing.
Yeah, but it's been quietly trying to make its way. I mean, that's what the progressives, since Woodrow Wilson, have been trying to promote, is National Socialism.
Yeah, and I mean, I understand the concept of social needs. I understand. I mean, good God, I'm on social programs. I use social programs. We just went for WIC because we just had a baby. You know, I pay my. I pay my taxes. That's what those programs are there for. So I absolutely take advantage of the programs that I've paid into and that are available to me. But I think what people are afraid of is this concept of shutting America off from the world. And it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Not with this president, not with the next one. Yes, when they came for my neighbors, I did nothing. That's the concept right now. People are utterly afraid that people are going to be hauled off from their bed at night.
Unless you were George Soros, who's fomenting the entire, revolution, and he did do something. He turned his fellow Jews in, and that's on record. That's what is that? 60 Minutes.
True.
I mean, he's so evil, and he's been involved in the deaths of countless people, not to mention, it would be amazing to find out truly. I mean, you think Bill Clinton is a horrible, evil piece of crap, which he is,
we're all horrible, evil pieces of crap in our own right, John, and that's what people need to get past. People need to get past this concept that we're all a fucking saint.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying at their level, at George Soros' level, the things that he's involved in, make any sin or thing that we should be ashamed of or feel guilty about just pale in comparison. It just means nothing compared to the things that he's been involved in.
Yeah. Well, and the fact is our nationalism spreads far beyond our borders. Our nationalism has been, people are afraid of the nationalistic point of view. We have been spreading our nationalism across the globe since the beginning of NATO. We have been spreading our nationalism across the globe with every friggin' embroiled battle that we are in that we don't need to be embroiled in, from Vietnam, Korea, all the way to now. It's the fact of democracy is the best thing. This is what you need. Democracy works for us. A democratic republic. Let's be clear. We're a democratic republic. We're a republic with a form of democratic voting. But we seem to tell everybody that democracy is the best form all over the world. Really? How's that working out for us right now? Seems to me like there's a whole bunch of people in this country that are saying democracy is not the best form. Like I said, we have been putting forth our nationalistic point of view and imposing our nationalistic point of view on politics the whole world over for the last 3 generations. So to say that we need to stop a nationalistic mentality now is horrifying. Hell, the whole reason for the Trans-Pacific Partnership is to bring capitalism to a communist country. once again.
Hey, I've got kind of exclusive there for you from that picture.
Once again, using our nationalistic thinking, being one of the only capitalist economies in the world,
Yeah.
saying that our way is the best way, and you need to follow our way.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's hubris and arrogance that but the road to hell is paved with good intentions. But going back to that picture you sent me of the sniper on the 19th, that was in a garage outside of the Capitol. They were getting ready. They were watching. The communist group who were open carrying. Who made the threats. Now, for some odd reason, and I didn't record this because I wouldn't have been able to talk to him had I recorded it.
Sure.
But Steve McCraw, Public Safety Director Steve McCraw, who's I believe he's a former 2-star, 3-star general. But he was standing there, and I had seen him from another meeting from Border Patrol, and I went up to him and I said, Red Guards Austin had put the threat on Facebook that they were going to turn White Lives Matter into dust. And he said, yeah, we know about that. And then right when he said that, all of the riot squad started coming out. So they were ready, man.
Oh yeah, no. And that's just it. Like
I didn't I went down there and I got my interview with the crazed Red Guard.
I saw that. That was awesome.
And I listened to the banter between the two of them, and I spoke to a few people that were just kind of watching from a distance that were really disappointed, especially after that ceremony, that amazing ceremony.
Yeah.
Just a completely American ceremony, and to have the memory of all of those folks that contributed to Texas. I mean, there's so many.
Oh yeah. Yeah. People like Barbara Jordan, come on.
Lightning Hopkins, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's not forget Lightning Blues Hopkins, of course.
I love Lightning.
But to me, it reeks of First Amendment. It reeks of control of the First Amendment. It reeks of people's abuse of the First Amendment and utter misunderstanding of it. And it goes right back to the beginning of this conversation, right back to the beginning of this episode, and the fact that the First Amendment, yes, is there to protect your right to protest. It is there to protect your right to free speech. It's mainly there to protect your right to free speech and free public assembly to allow you to protest. Now, what it also means is that you are actionable for what you say and do. You are held liable. So if what you say grind him to dust turns into something violent, you're responsible for that. Hey, Black Lives Matter. If you start a protest and you say this is our protest, and then things turn violent at your protest because of some rhetoric that was put out, that's on you. Same thing with the Republicans. Same thing.
Martin Luther King never motivated people to kill other people.
No, he never motivated people to turn over cars, light them on fire, to attack police officers. Nothing.
Violent. You stay the course with common sense, rational human logic.
Yeah.
And you stay the course and you stick to your principles.
That's
and
right.
eventually a change will come.
That's right.
Whatever change you're trying to make, but have, let's think about MLK, man. I mean, we're talking about a genius here.
Well,
this guy could go off on all of the things that needed to change down to the nth degree of detail. And from all of these groups, I start suggesting maybe this is what you should say as Black Lives Matter. As Black Lives Matter, shouldn't you get out there and say, listen, these are the statistics. These are the problems within the police forces.
That's right.
They're tied to the money that is federalizing them. They're tied to the United Nations now through the Department of Justice.
Yep.
It's become a big brother state. That's the problem. It's got nothing to do with white people or, this person or that person, or just trying to get along, doing their 40-hour work week. And that's who everybody wants to go and attack, pull some guy out of his car because he's white and beat the crap out of him because they think he's a Trump supporter.
Hey, here's the thing, even if he has a Trump bumper sticker, that doesn't matter. That's his right to the First Amendment.
You should respect that.
You should.
You should absolutely respect anybody's.
Yeah.
The fact that we can give the Communist Party a place to view, to express their viewpoints.
That's right.
Says a whole lot about America, how much we'll tolerate. When in reality, 50, 60 years ago, I don't know what they would have done to these Red Guards Austin people.
Oh, they'd have been on a list, and they'd have been hunted down, and they'd have been blackballed from jobs, all kinds of stuff. Yeah. If it was still the McCarthy era, that's how it worked. And that's exactly what the laws like MUD and everything else were designed to get rid of. They were designed to stop that kind of shit. They were designed to stop blackballing people. They were designed to, just because somebody like,
Trumbo.
Yeah, well, it's...
The screenwriter Trumbo, he was a member of the Communist Party. He had communist beliefs. The political agenda interested him, and he believed in it, and to a certain extent as a philosophy. But he never called, or did he? To my knowledge, I don't think he ever called for violence, but actually I might be wrong about that. He might have been involved in something, but the fact of the matter is that any film. I mean, you can believe that the Halley's Comet is going to deliver you and your group of 12 shaved eunuchs, and that you're all going to drink the Kool-Aid on this certain day, and you're all going to go join Halley's Comet. We'll pretty much leave you alone. You know? I mean, hopefully somebody will intervene and stop you all from killing yourself, but, what you believe in, your freedom to believe in anything, it can spiral out of control.
Absolutely.
I mean, look at Jim Jones. Look at the cult of Jim Jones. I mean, 903 people?
Well, and granted, we can say Jim Jones. Jim Jones happened outside of the U.S.
Well, yeah, but it was
so
formulated.
Not only was he good enough to convince all those people to leave the U.S. and give him all of their possessions.
They're only there for a year. The damage had been done. He grew his cult here in the United States.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I mean, they went abroad because of things. They went abroad because
they were being chased around because the members were starting to talk.
Yeah.
So he got the remaining members on a plane like that night.
Yeah.
We're going to publish this news article on him, and somebody read it word for word for him over the telephone. And as soon as he got off that phone call, he said, "All right, that's it. We're all going.
We're all leaving."
And they all left.
Yeah.
Yep.
Imagine if David Koresh had gotten a phone call like that beforehand and just up and left.
And yeah.
So, but really what we're talking about here is the First Amendment, the preservation of our right to protest, the preservation of these things. And what people don't understand is that, like we said with my friend's comment on Facebook, every action has a reaction. No, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And it's the equal and opposite part of that universal law of physics that must be obeyed. That must be heeded. Because you have to expect the fact that there will be just as great an opposite reaction.
Every action contains an equal amount of reaction through another form of intent.
Exactly.
So each action has intent behind it, but then there's a whole other outlier of intent that is just as valid as that action and the intent involved in it.
Well, and
you can't predict anything.
Well, and here's the thing. I'm not saying don't protest people. By all means, go out, protest, exercise your First Amendment right. That is what it's there for. Exercise it properly, exercise it responsibly. Even on this show, I have disclaimers that people sign that say, be careful what you say. I'm not going to edit it. And if what you say gets you in trouble with your kid's teacher, if it makes your grandma upset and makes her cry, if you're going to lose your job, just don't say it. Be accountable for your actions. Be accountable for what you say. Be accountable for what you do.
There was what was it? It was on Facebook today. I saw that there was a guy in Lexington, Kentucky, where I hail from, for the most part.
Yeah.
And he had posted that he was going to spit. He works at Starbucks, and he's going to spit in the next customer's cup that has them write Trump on it. And not 10 minutes later, he posts another update on his situation. It says, "I was just fired from Starbucks."
Good. Good.
I mean, but that's social media.
That's
you go
just
down
good.
to the University of Texas, and all these kids have their faces buried in their phones, man.
Well, and that's understandable. It's the modern means of communicate. It's the modern means of communication. If you're not on Facebook, if you're not on social media, even as a podcaster, John, it's a fool's errand. Good luck being found. There's a reason why numerous news agencies are starting to broadcast live on Facebook. It's because they aren't turning on the TV.
Absolutely. All I'm saying is you shouldn't be walking into traffic like that.
You shouldn't be walking into traffic like that. You should be very aware of your surroundings, what's going on around you in the world all the time.
Your modus operandi shouldn't involve staring at a phone as you go about your business every day. Set the thing down.
Yeah.
Use the technology when you need to use it, but spend the rest of your day, smile at somebody.
That's it.
Say hello.
Thank you.
Start a conversation with them. Say thank you. Open a door for somebody. So find out where somebody's from.
Yeah.
You might actually, 9 times out of 10, when I ask somebody where they're from, we end up being, it always ends with, well, it's a small world, isn't it?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, and it's just the concept of, as we wrap this episode, it's really the concept of wanting to be an active member of society, wanting to be somebody that puts things out there and is also willing to receive. Just because you put something out there doesn't mean that your heart should be so hardened that you cannot receive as well. It's
somehow safe from it.
Yeah, or that somehow you're insular from this. Nobody is insular from what's going on in our country right now.
No.
There were people.
It's a dangerous world, man.
There are people that were more than insular from what was going on between the War of the States when it happened. Be damned if it didn't end up in everybody's backyard. And that's what a lot of people are comparing this to, is the moments before the War of the States, the moments where, like I said before, the German people were so indebted monetarily, they were so disheveled as a people, they had no personal identity anymore. They were ready for anybody to come and save them. And that's the danger. No, the answer does not lie in one man. It lies in e pluribus unum. Of many, we are one. Of many, we are one. E pluribus unum. It's right there on every coin that we carry in our pocket, ladies and gentlemen, right next to those dead founding fathers that took the great care to make this place.
Still a very young country. It's still a very...
exactly.
It's an experiment in its beginning stages.
Yep.
And, we've a lot of people come into the lab and try to knock down all the vials, but, we keep setting them back up because we want this thing to work.
Well, that's a point I've made numerous times is, it took a lot more than 200 years before Nero came along and fiddled while Rome burned. Took a lot more.
A lot more.
A lot more time than that. And we have a lot more time than that. We are an enlightened people. If we were so horrible, 2/3 of the world's immigrants would not be trying to come to our borders. 2/3 of the people in the world would not be trying to come here to make their living, to make their dreams come alive.
And I'll let you go. I know we've talked forever, but
okay,
I just
brother.
want to make one last statistical point.
Do it.
We allow 2 million immigrants per year into the United States. We've been doing that long before Obama and Bush and Clinton.
That's right.
And on average, as far as the ratio is concerned, we've always done that.
That's right.
So because people don't understand how immigration works in the United States and naturalization works. And what about all these people that did naturalize? That spent 5 years in the same city, in the same state, followed the law, learned the Constitution, learned English, and naturalized as citizens. What about them, man? How do they feel right now?
Yeah, exactly.
How did they even do that?
Yeah.
And not that they have a greater appreciation for this country and what it can bring them. And you bring in people that don't have to learn the Constitution. They don't have to live in a certain particular area so that they can give to that community. Instead, now we have illegal immigrants that are coming in and creating their own communities outside of the Constitution. And whether that be, Sharia law or that's, MS-13 taking over Del Valley.
Yeah, that's right in our own backyard, man.
Right. It's all under the umbrella of they're not following the Constitution. They're not acting as citizens just like you and I are supposed to act.
Well, and it's the fact of having respect, doing what we're supposed to do, making sure that we do our part. I have no problem with immigration. I have no problem with people coming to this country. Please, good God, come, work hard, be an American. That's the other thing. That's what it's about.
Why would we?
Yeah.
Why would we?
Yeah.
My ancestor, Jon Bowne, he immigrated here in 1648. That was just a second ago.
Yeah.
And then on my mother's side, they got here a lot later,
Yep.
And I'm glad that they did because I'm here now.
Well, hey, half of my family was exiled. We were literally here under the auspice of political asylum. When the Cajuns were kicked out of Acadia, that's what happened. We were exiled out of Canada, and we were given places here. We were allowed to come into the United States, and us mixing with the indigenous Indian culture, in Louisiana begat the Cajun culture. But we were immigrants. We were people without a home. We were people that were sent away from the home that we traveled across the sea to be at.
But these fools would immediately argue with you and say, yeah, but your ancestors came here and enslaved everybody and killed everybody. No, they didn't.
No, mine didn't. I don't know of any slave holdings in my family.
The ancestor I just spoke of, because I've got a lot of them, but Jon Bowne in particular, who was responsible for religious freedom in America, look it up.
Yeah.
He was part of the Underground Railroad.
Yeah.
That's my ancestors are clean to the beginning of this country, and the fact that somebody would come up and just point their finger at me and say, you're a racist, you believe in your ancestors, is really disturbing.
Yeah.
And angers me a lot.
Yeah, because to me,
the racial side of it is the fact that I have a full-blooded brother who got more of the Filipino gene than I did, and he's completely brown. How in the world am I supposed to be a racist?
Yeah.
So when somebody comes to me and says, you're a racist, King, you're white, I get mad.
Yeah. Well, and you have a right to get mad. the people who are protesting have a right to be mad. They have a right. The problem is, how do you enact that right? How do you impose that right? How do you use the right that you're given and maintain responsibility and maintain the fact that you are responsible and accountable for your actions, for what you say, and for what you've done. If you incite a riot, you're responsible for inciting a riot. That's how that works. To me,
we need to organize and rally and march against stupid people. that would be it. People that do not know the facts of immigration, people that do not understand the culture of the United States, people that are just a march against to stop stupidity.
Well, and see, to me, it's the fact of the whole concept of an American melting pot, and we all heard the songs coming up. You and I did on Schoolhouse Rock, the Great American Melting Pot, all that good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And it was great.
Yeah.
But the fact is, we aren't supposed to lose our cultural heritage. To say so would mean that people were right for decades by saying, hey, Cajuns, forget learning Cajun. That's the sign of being an ignorant country person. You need to learn English. And now, at this point, 50 years down the line, we've got one of the only languages native to America that is all but forgotten. And that's how that happens. Slowly, a culture, literally some of the only things that people identify my culture with are the show Swamp People, Justin Wilson, or the Boobies and Beads in New Orleans that is Mardi Gras.
I don't know what's worse, being a Cajun or being from Eastern Kentucky. I think we're both in the same boat.
We're both right up around the same boat. Yeah, I mean, we're sharing a P-row. We're sharing a P-row, my friend.
Two different cultures, but almost identical.
But that's the danger. That's the danger that is real, that people don't realize that, like, whenever you say, come here and learn English. Yes, absolutely learn English. It's the language of the land. I went to Italy for a...
Learn who Willie Mays is. And learn who Muhammad Ali is. And learn who John Coltrane was. Okay, there's three black dudes that I mentioned. Those are my heroes, man.
Well, that's what we're supposed to do, though. Like,
those people are my heroes. So that, and this is how the rest of Americans feel too.
Yeah,
we have great respect for all of us.
Well, and it's the fact of, a lot of people, especially after 9/11, especially after the wars and all that stuff, stopped wearing American flags whenever they went abroad. They stopped identifying as American whenever they went abroad. And, to me, that's one of those, like, I spent a semester abroad. I learned Italian, at least the best that I could while I was there for the short amount of time to be able to get by. And, hell, my Spanish comes back after a week of being in Mexico, and I do my best to speak Spanish. I may speak brokenly, but I will at least do my best to assimilate to the local culture. Now, what I don't want to see happen
is wash butt in the fountain in the town square.
Yeah, and what
that wasn't an option.
There, it's just the fact of, while we keep our individual cultures, we need to try to come together as well. To me, it's the fact of the one thing I was told, and it's right there in your passport, you are an ambassador for your country. Behave that way. Behave that way.
Ultimately, that is the crux of the entire argument. It's not that I have anything against an Iranian Persian person. I totally am fascinated with Persia. I have nothing against Mesopotamia. I'm completely fascinated with the Assyrians and Babylon and the ancient cities of Sumeria.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated with the history of Syria. I'm fascinated with the history of Iraq. I'm fascinated with the history of Turkey. But that doesn't mean that your culture can come to my culture and tell me that your culture is going to dominate my culture that you've never taken the time to understand.
Well, and at the same time, and at the same token, we can't say, welcome to our country, now leave all aspect of your culture behind. We can't do that.
No, absolutely. And we don't do that.
We don't do that.
We don't.
I don't do that.
No.
I don't ask people to. Hell, I asked my neighbor today where I could get chicharrone skins because I'm trying to find me some freaking cracklins to make for Thanksgiving.
It's a touchy, right? It's a touchy subject because it really does come down to what are you protesting about?
That's it.
Does it make sense?
That's it.
Does it make sense? Do you have your facts straight? Because you go to these protests and it's just F you, F that, you should die, blah blah.
It's anger for anger's sake.
Anger for anger's sake, and to me it was like, okay, so the African American Monument celebration happened, and then kind of at the foot of the big house where the adults were having their party and their celebration were these whining little babies. You know, and the police had to show up because the babies started smacking each other. I mean, there is no substance in their protest. There's nothing there. You can't go there and learn something.
Yeah.
You can't go to these protests and learn something.
Yeah.
And that's a huge problem.
Yeah. Yeah, because your protest should be educating some people about something. That's just it. You're protesting. You're barely even protesting an ideology. You're protesting that something did not go the way that you wanted it to. And there are some ideologies there. There are some frightening ideologies there. I'm not going to lie. But there were frightening ideologies on the other side too, you know?
Sure.
So, I mean, in my mind, it's the fact of we let things suss out. We let things figure out where they are. We move on as America, the strong, semi-united country that we are. We all basically believe in the same thing, just from different points of view, which is what makes America beautiful and amazing. And to me, John, that's what it's about. When it comes to the First Amendment, it's about, like I said a few times in this episode and wrapping it now, it really is about, yes, saying what you want to say and how you say it, but being responsible and accountable for what you say and how you say it. And that's you know, that's what the First Amendment's all about. We do have the right to protest. It's how you protest. It's what you say, what you do during those protests that makes the difference.
Are you going to sit at the kiddie table, or are you going to sit up here with the adults? It's time to come and have a real conversation.
Yeah,
that's bottom line.
Yeah, hey, either way, you're going to get Thanksgiving dinner.
Either way, that's right.
The idea is that we're all supposed to want to sit at the grown-up table. We're all supposed to want a seat at the grown-up table.
It'd be nice if you help make the mashed potatoes. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's right. Put a little something into it. So,
you know, help somebody out of their car. Help an old lady. Help grandma out of her car.
Well, that's just it. It's about making society better. We're in this thing together, folks. Believe it or not, whether it's 60-40, 50-50, 70-30, we're all fighting for the same damn thing. We're all fighting for the same damn America. And until we learn to see that, until we learn to reach across the table, talk to each other, listen to each other instead of waiting our turn to talk, we aren't really going to get a whole lot of anywhere.
And I'm not fighting for any kind of white privilege because I'm not even sure. White privilege to me is similar to the gold at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah.
You know, I'm never going to find a white leprechaun who's going to take me to this big pot of white privilege gold.
Well,
folks, I have struggled just like every other what have you in this country, and I'm still struggling.
That's right. That's right.
I'm still struggling. Nobody's ever handed me anything, man. You know, I'm 45 years old. I'm not going to be around much longer. And whatever this white privilege everyone's talking about, I don't even want it.
Yeah.
I don't even want it if it exists. I don't even want it.
Yep.
Because I've gotten this far on my own.
That's it.
Thank you very much.
Exactly. And that's what America's about, folks. Being able to sit here, have an open conversation, have an open discussion, even disagree on some points like John and I have tonight, but being able to come into the middle of it and being able to see things from both sides of the fence. It really does take an equal understanding of all things. It takes an open mind and open heart for us to be able to heal ourselves and heal others. And until we take care of ourselves, we can't do anything to help somebody else. So on that note, thank you very much for tuning into this episode of the Dudes and Beer podcast. We can't even express how much we love you guys. We are just past episode 75 now, moving hard to episode 100 before the new year, hopefully. And, Jon Bowne, thank you so much for coming on the show, for keeping coming on the show. Let's keep this up, man. Let's keep talking about articles in the news and stuff like that every week or so, and open a dialogue.
Is there any way to take calls?
We can work that out.
Yeah, we should figure that out. I'd love to hear from other people.
Yeah, absolutely. We can definitely work that out. So on that note, everybody, once again, thanks so much for tuning in to Dudes and Beer, part of the Revolution digital group of families. Check out so many of the other podcasts with the International O, as well as those damn comic book guys, Fresh Prince of ATX with Aaron Knight, as well as Fuck Your Opinion podcast with Confucius Jones. So once again, Jon Bowne, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you, sir.
And until next time, everybody, hey, if you can't be good at it. We'll talk to you soon, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Dudes and Beer podcast. To listen to our live audio streams, tune in at dudesandbeer.com or Spreaker.com/dudesandbeer. You can find our episodes on SoundCloud.com as well as the Google Play and iTunes market. You can also find us on YouTube, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast service. Dudes and Beer is a proud member of the Revolution Digital Group family of podcasts. Thanks for listening, everybody, and until next time, drink responsibly.